There is a liquid in your kitchen right now that has been used as medicine, as a weapon, as a cleaning agent, and as the secret ingredient in food that makes your mouth come alive. You probably walk past it every day without a second thought. Today, we're opening every single bottle. White distilled vinegar. Let's start with the most underestimated bottle in your entire kitchen. White distilled vinegar, transparent, cheap, shoved to the back of the shelf. Most people use it for cleaning drains, and that's it. That's like using a kitchen knife to open Amazon boxes. This vinegar is made by fermenting grain alcohol, usually corn. The result is pure, direct acid. No sweetness, no fruitiness, just clean, sharp, honest acidity. And that directness is the whole point. When you want to pickle something, balance a hot sauce or cut through the fat in a heavy marinade. This is the tool. It doesn't add personality to the dish. It makes everything else more itself. In ancient Rome, soldiers carried it diluted with water as a drink. They called it pasca. It kept them hydrated, clean, and alive on long campaigns. The cheapest bottle in your pantry has a 3,000-year-old story. Apple cider vinegar. The most talked about, most Googled, most argued about vinegar in the world right now. Right now, at this very moment, millions of people are drinking a spoonful of this in warm water every morning. Some say it changed everything. Some say it's just expensive sour water with great branding. The truth, as usual, is somewhere in the middle. Akfi is made by fermenting crushed apples into cider, then letting bacteria convert that cider into vinegar. The raw, unfiltered version keeps something called the mother, a living colony of bacteria that looks strange but is genuinely the most valuable part of the bottle. As a cooking ingredient, it's beautifully versatile, fruity mellow with enough sweetness to balance the sharpness. Pour it into a coleslaw dressing and it lifts everything. Glaze chicken with it and the skin becomes something extraordinary. As a wellness ingredient, the research is real but modest. It won't cure everything the internet promises, but a tablespoon in water before a meal. It's one of the cheapest, most accessible things you can do for digestion. Just make sure you buy the right one. The cloudy one. The cloudy one. With the mother at the bottom. Balsamic vinegar. This is the one people drizzle over strawberries at dinner parties and everyone around the table goes, "Wait, is that vinegar?" Yes, vinegar on strawberries. And it might be the best thing you ever put in your mouth. Real balsamic. Aceto balsamico tradizionale from Modena, Italy, is made from grape must. The crushed juice of grapes cooked down and then aged in a series of wooden barrels for a minimum of 12 years, each year in a different wood: oak, cherry, chestnut, mulberry, each one adding something the last barrel couldn't. Some bottles are aged 25 years. A bottle of 25-year balsamic was started in someone's cellar the year you might have been born. Think about that for a second. What comes out is barely recognizable as vinegar. It's sweet, deeply complex, thick, almost like a reduction of time itself. Now, the honest truth. Most balsamic on supermarket shelves is not this. It's wine vinegar with caramel coloring and thickeners made in days instead of decades, still usable, but a completely different thing. If you've never tried real aged balsamic, find a small bottle. It costs more but lasts for months, and it will permanently change what you believe vinegar is capable of. Rice vinegar is East Asia's quiet genius. Made by fermenting rice wine, the same base that gives us sake. It's the gentlest, softest, most subtle vinegar on this list. The acidity is almost a whisper compared to white vinegar's shout. And that whisper is the entire point. Sushi rice isn't just rice. It's rice dressed with rice vinegar, salt, and a tiny amount of sugar. That barely there tang is what makes sushi rice taste like sushi rice and not just lunch. Without it, the whole experience collapses. Chinese rice vinegar comes in varieties too: clear, red, and black. The black one, Qingqiang vinegar from Zhenjiang, is smoky, complex, almost mysterious. It's what gives authentic Chinese dumplings their particular depth when used in the dipping sauce. If you cook Asian food at home and you've been using white distilled vinegar as a substitute, that's why something always tastes slightly off. They're not the same instrument. One is a hammer, the other is a paintbrush. Red wine vinegar is the backbone of Mediterranean cooking. It starts its life as red wine already full of character, tannins, and history. Bacteria converts the alcohol into acid. What remains is all of that flavor, all of that personality without the alcohol, more complex than white vinegar, less sweet than balsamic, right exactly in the middle. Greek salads, Italian dressings, Spanish gazpacho, French vinaigrettes. The entire Mediterranean basin essentially runs on this one bottle. There's something emotionally satisfying about red wine vinegar that's hard to explain. Maybe it's the color, that deep, warm red in a bowl of salad. Maybe it's that it carries the memory of celebration. Wine is for gathering, for toasting, for sitting together, and vinegar made from wine carries a trace of all of that. Here's a chef move that takes 45 seconds. After you sear meat in a hot pan, splash in a little red wine vinegar. Scrape up all those brown bits, let it reduce for 30 seconds, add a small knob of cold butter, swirl. You just made a restaurant sauce from what most people would have washed down the sink. White wine vinegar is red wine vinegar's more refined, slightly introverted sibling. Same process, wine converted to acid, but from white wine. The result is more delicate, more floral. The acidity is present, but it doesn't announce itself. It suggests. The French built an entire cuisine on this. Their classic sauces, Béarnaise, Hollandaise, are emulsions built on white wine vinegar. Their light vinaigrettes, their fish cookery. The flavor is subtle enough not to compete with delicate ingredients, but acidic enough to do exactly what acid does. Make everything brighter. Most people have a bottle somewhere and barely use it. Here's the simplest thing you can do tonight. 3 parts olive oil, 1 part white wine vinegar, a pinch of salt, a small spoon of Dijon mustard. Shake it in a jar. That's it. That's the dressing. And you will never buy bottled dressing again. You will never buy bottled dressing again. Sherry vinegar. This is the one that chefs know about, and most home cooks have never tried. It comes from Jerez, Spain, the same region that gives us sherry wine. And like balsamic, it ages in wooden barrels. Minimum 6 months. The serious ones go for years. The flavor is unlike anything else on this list. Nutty, warm, a little like toasted wood and dried fruit. There's a sweetness that isn't sugary, more like the distant memory of grapes. Spanish chefs use it the way Italian chefs use balsamic, not as a main ingredient, but as a finishing touch. A few drops into a gazpacho just before serving, stirred into a lentil stew at the very end, drizzled over roasted peppers with olive oil. If you have ever eaten at a serious Spanish restaurant and thought, there is something in this dish that I cannot name, something warm and deep and just slightly sweet, it was probably sherry vinegar. It is not expensive. It is not hard to find online. And the first time you use it, you will understand immediately why it has its own protected designation in Spain. 7 vinegars, 7 completely different personalities, and every single one of them starts the same way. Something sweet, fruit, grain, grape, time, fermentation, patience, and then something that started as one thing becomes something entirely else. Vinegar is basically food that chose to keep evolving instead of staying comfortable. There's a lesson somewhere in there. If you want to go deeper on any of these, the 3,000-year history of white vinegar, how to make your own ACV at home, or a full guide to cooking with balsamic, put it in the comments below. I read every single one. New video every week. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.